Today, Richard Branson is buzzing as he safely returns to Earth. He blasted off into space in his own ship yesterday. Stay with us to watch it happen. Rats are apparently chewing through cabling in Tesla cars. But even though it used soy in the cabling, Tesla says it's not responsible. With prices going up for pretty much everything, swimming pools are the same. How is it affecting real estate in the United States? That and much more, coming up on NTD Business. Good evening and great to have you with us. I'm Paul Graney. Billionaire Richard Branson seems to be feeling on top of the world after a successful trip to space yesterday. Now Virgin Galactic, his space tourism company, plans on launching paying customers by next year. It already had around 600 bookings by March. NTD's Colin Fredrickson tells us more.
I'm looking down at a beautiful spaceport. Congratulations to everybody.
Richard Branson blasted off into space Sunday. The 71-year-old billionaire went over 50 miles into the sky to experience 4 minutes of weightlessness and to see the Earth's surface from the stars.
To all you kids down there, I was once a child with a dream, looking up to the stars. Now I'm an adult in a spaceship with lots of other wonderful adults looking down to our beautiful, beautiful Earth. To the next generation of dreamers, if we can do this, just imagine what you can do. Yay!
The launch began with a smooth runway takeoff involving a mothership, the VMS Eve, and an attached spaceship, the VSS Unity.
Take it up into the upper atmosphere, and then from there you launch your space plane from the bottom of that aircraft, and it goes into orbit like that.
3, 2, 1, release, release, release. Clean release. Ignition. Good rocket motor burn.
Space expert Brandon Weichert, author of Winning Space, says there could be people making regular visits to space, living in space, and working in space in the next 20 to 40 years.
12 years ago, space really wasn't developed economically beyond satellite usage. But now, because of people like Elon Musk, Richard Branson, and even Jeff Bezos, the battle of the billionaires, now it's going to be a place where human beings propel themselves.
The space part of the flight, which lasted around 15 minutes, partially served as an advertisement. Branson's space tourism company, Virgin Galactic, plans on taking paying customers to the stars by next year.
Wow, what a view. Oh my goodness, the moon off the nose.
Ticket prices average around $250,000. Colin Fredrickson, NTD News.
And I'd just like to end by saying, welcome to the dawn of a new space age. Thank you.
You could be one of the next to go. Virgin Galactic is offering the chance to win a seat on one of the company's first commercial voyages. Anyone over the age of 18 can enter on omaze.com through August 31st. Virgin Galactic hasn't released details on when the flight will take place yet. And Amazon now has permission to use radar to remotely monitor customers in their sleep. Bloomberg reports Amazon had to get the permission from the FCC to make it happen. Didn't specify what the new device would be for, but earlier this year, Business Insider reported Amazon was working on a device for sleep apnea. It also reports Amazon says it will allow monitoring of sleep with a higher degree of precision than otherwise possible. The company says the radar sensors would improve awareness and management of sleep health using a contactless method. Tesla cars are so popular, it seems even rats want to get a piece of them. According to Fox News, one owner in Manhattan says a rat chewed through the car's cabling and took a nap in the car's glove compartment. Tesla uses soy to insulate its cables instead of oil because it's cheaper and better for the environment. But even though rats apparently like the soy, Tesla says it's not to blame and won't cover the repair costs. NTD's Patrick Hayden has the story.
Fox News reports that rats recently caused $5,000 worth of damage to a Tesla in Manhattan. Like other car makers, Tesla says it's not liable for damage caused by nature. A product from Hammer Technologies called Rat Mat deters rodents from cars. The company says Tesla cars are easy to access for the rodents.
Tesla has some of these unfortunately has these entry points in their vehicles. So we've seen all of their line attacked by rodents. So every single model has been.
Proveneers says rats will attack any car, but EVs are being attacked more. Cars now have environmentally friendly electrical cables. The problem is rats enjoy eating them.
And then on top of that, you've got the wiring that is now even more attractive to them because it's soy-based as well. So that they're attracted to that as well. Plus, they have the warm battery.
Cars are now food as well as shelter for the creatures.
But if you think about it, an electric car is a very, very attractive site for a rodent because they can get into it and they're relatively undisturbed once they're inside. Humans can't get in, predators can't get in and access it. So it's a very attractive nesting site.
He says that EVs in rural areas are getting attacked the most. And he's seeing this especially so in California, where his product is selling well. Patrick Hayden, NTD News.
And Hauwei and Verizon have agreed to settle a pair of lawsuits alleging patent infringement. News comes days after a trial opened for one of the lawsuits. Hauwei and Verizon filed joint motions to dismiss both cases and Verizon's counterclaims late Sunday in Texas. In February 2020, Hauwei sued Verizon, alleging the company used a dozen Hauwei patents without authorization. Verizon filed counterclaims against Hauwei, claiming the Chinese company violated Verizon's patents. Verizon says it was happy with the settlement. Hauwei said it was also pleased the two companies reached an agreement. Terms of the settlement, though, aren't being disclosed. And American restaurants are still struggling to find help. Now more chains are raising salaries, even giving bonuses to new employees, even to current employees who are willing to stick around. You can now get $17 or $18 an hour starting pay at McDonald's and Chipotle. And Papa John's get ready for up to $400 in appreciation bonuses this year and make $50 for each new referral. The bad news is some change will be passing the added cost on to customers. Prices at Chipotle are set to go up around 4%, and Texas Roadhouse raised prices about 2% to offset higher wages. Average hourly earnings across all industries were up 3.6% in June compared to 1 year ago. A New York City restaurant week is coming back with a bang. Let's hope they have the workers to make it happen, though. Bookings open today for discounted lunch and dinner at many of the city's favorite spots. The deals will be on for 5 weeks, starting next Monday. Lunch starts at $21 and dinner starts at $39 for an entree and a side. But there are also signature dining experiences at select restaurants offering 3-course meals and more, like meeting the chef and special menus. It's going to cost $125. Besides dining indoors and outdoors, customers can also order takeout and delivery. And it costs $20,000 more to install a swimming pool now than it did in 2019. Even still, people want them. NTD's Phil Zoe looks at how the pandemic has people scrambling for their own oasis.
Having a swimming pool is a luxury for many, even in America. But that luxury just got more expensive. A basic non-customized in-ground pool used to cost around $65,000 in 2019. But now it's gone up 30% to $85,000. How does that affect the demand in real estate, especially with the housing shortage?
You yourself and in your community seeing the demand for swimming pools now, and why do you think that is?
Yeah, so I mean, we've always had a high demand for swimming pools here just because of the crazy heat. But we've seen the demand go even higher here because of, the shortage of housing. People want, what they want, and sellers want top dollar. And one of the fastest ways to do that is to make sure, if you have a pool, make sure it's maintained, make sure, you've got all the upgrades in it. And for buyers, they're psyched if they find a property with a pool. So
in Westchester, New York, real estate agent Lauren Hurwitz tells NTD News that demand is just as high.
Tell me, how important is having a swimming pool for your clients?
So there are definitely a lot of buyers out there that absolutely want to have a pool in their backyard here in the suburbs, especially, we had COVID last year. You couldn't really go anywhere. They want to have an oasis of their own.
But for many reasons, there are also people who don't want a swimming pool at all.
But of course, you also have buyers who want nothing to do with a pool, want nothing to do with water at all. They're scared of what it means in terms of safety, but they also don't want to pay for the maintenance of it.
Some experts say they expect the trend to continue, not just with swimming pools, but outdoor spaces and amenities in general. Phil Zhou, NTD News.
And farm workers in the western United States are facing dangerous conditions. A heat wave drove temperatures up to 120 degrees in some places in California over the weekend. Now, farmers are finding ways to protect their workers. Here's NTD's Evelyn Lee with more.
Farmers in California are taking precautions to protect their workers during the heat wave. Joe Del Bosque of Del Bosque Farms in Fireball is one of them.
They're expecting this to get over 110, maybe as high as 112 or 14. So this puts a little strain both on our people and our crops.
He says they provide plenty of cool water for their workers, shade for them to rest in, and educate them about heat illness prevention. Del Bosque also says that he and his wife are both in the field to monitor the situation.
And if we see it gets too hot and it's a danger to them, we will shut down the operation and send them home.
Last week, 2 states in the Pacific Northwest announced emergency rules. The new rules provide farm workers and other outdoor workers with more protection from the hot weather.
It's so hot today. It's almost about 100 degrees. It's kind of hard to work in this kind of weather.
California was first in adopting rules requiring shade and water for farm workers in 2005. That year, the state experienced 10 heat-related deaths. 4 of them were farm workers.
Every farm worker that's out there is at risk of experiencing heat illness, of losing their life due to heat illness.
California now requires employers to provide shade when temperatures are above 80 degrees. They also need to give workers cool drinking water, toilet and hand washing facilities, as well as 15-minute breaks in the shade every hour when temperatures get higher. Evelyn Lee, NTD News.
And major indexes on Wall Street closed at their highest levels ever today. It's ahead of second quarter earnings season later this week. The Dow closed just shy of 35,000, rising 126 points or over 1/3%. S&P 500 added 15 points, also over 1/3%. The Nasdaq gained 31 points, 0.2% today. But trading volumes at major cryptocurrency exchanges fell by more than 40% in June. That's according to London-based researcher Crypto Compare. It says a possible reason for the decline is lower crypto prices and lower volatility. There's usually more trading when prices swing a lot, since people can take advantage of the price difference and make a profit. It also says headwinds continue as China keeps cracking down on Bitcoin mining. Major crypto exchange Binance, too, saw its volume cut in half in June. It's faced scrutiny from regulators around the world. And the European Union says it will delay its own plan for a corporate tax on online sales in order to facilitate a broader global tax deal. The move comes after pressure from U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, who has been leading the charge for the global deal. On Saturday, the world's 20 largest economies endorsed the global corporate tax plan. It would first introduce the global minimum tax rate of 15%, and then second, tax large companies like Amazon and Google based on where they sell their products and services instead of where their headquarters are. More than 130 countries have backed the plan, but after it's finalized, we still need legislative approval in all those countries. The White House is concerned the EU digital tax plan would complicate the matter and make the global deal more difficult to pass in Congress, which must approve it. Besides the US, Congress, there are other hurdles too. 3 European countries are against the global deal, including Ireland, where the corporate tax rate is 12.5%, lower than the proposed global minimum. And in a sign things may not be going as well as planned in China, its central bank is reducing some reserve requirements to allow more money to enter the system, around $150 billion worth. Asked senior analyst at FX Street and longtime China watcher Joseph Trevisani if this is the equivalent to a small stimulus package.
You're looking at, through a lot of the world right now, a lot of concerns. One of the things where in the U.S., the treasury rates have come off quite substantially. You're getting the same kind of signal out of China. That's what this is. It's a notice that things are not going quite as well as they thought, that they're looking ahead and they're seeing things where the economy is not as strong as they probably expected. You've certainly seen that here in the United States with the labor market statistics, where you've seen the ISM, the Purchasing Managers Indexes for employment, both dropped below, services and manufacturing both dropped below 50 in June. You've seen the non-farm payrolls have not really produced as much as people expected, and initial claims have climbed a little bit. So there is this concern that although the expectations, perhaps the expectations were too high, the expectations here in the United States were based probably on a 10% or 9% GDP expansion in the second quarter, an annualized rate. Well, it's come off a little bit from that. So this is the same kind of concern and preemptive action that you're seeing in China.
A lot of the pain points you mentioned, I think all of the pain points were related to employment. Do you feel this is the root cause of these challenges?
Well, employment has great ramifications for the economy. After all, people aren't working and they're not confident about their job prospects, they won't spend money. We have a consumer-driven economy. That consumer-driven economy is one of the things that drives the Chinese economy because they're an export-based economy. So for whatever reason, and we've spoken about this in the past, whatever reason people are not returning to work as avidly as people expected or as quickly as people expected is starting to have economic ramifications. It may be because, and it probably likely is, the extended employment benefits, but nonetheless, it has ramifications.
We see this year as well with China record corporate bond defaults, and people I used to speak with in the past said the last thing China are going to do is allow their corporations to default, because then people, international investors, will get the spooks. But this year we see record high defaults. You think it's economy driven, or you think it's a change in policy in China that they say we can't just keep bailing these people out?
Well, I think it's probably both. I mean, there's going to have been a great problem over the past year for lack of sales, of course, and lack of exports. But the Chinese have what the Japanese would call a zombie economy there, in portions of it, not in all of it, and certainly not in the majority of it. But the old state-owned corporations, going back to the old way of doing business 30 years ago, many of them continue to exist. They continue to be bailed out. They continue to function. And their bonds are the ones by and large, that are causing problems, because they're not competitive with the new capitalist, or relatively new capitalist sector that is very aggressive.
Do you worry about this zombification taking hold here in America, or you think that this is just temporary, what people are calling the bailout of everything?
That's actually a very good question, and a very meaningful question. Just because you have a capitalist economy does not mean that this cannot happen here. We can look at Japan and see the extreme example of that, where both monetary policy, which has been officially very low for a generation basically, and official help from the government have prolonged all of these corporations. Are we going that way in this country? The tendency is there. Certainly the very low rate regime that the Fed is currently conducting, and really has been conducting since the financial crisis, bails out, aids, props up weak companies because they can borrow at nominal rates, at very low rates. So there is a tendency to go in that direction. It's the path of least resistance for an economy, for a company, and unfortunately, for a central bank.
Joseph Trevisani, FX Street. And the boss of Europe's largest listed car rental company warns that the chip shortage will keep rental prices high until the situation improves. It told the Financial Times that rental providers can't keep up with demand from vacationers. Rental car prices are up to 3 times higher than normal in a lot of places. The chip crisis means fewer new cars are being made, and car sellers are prioritizing retail sales over rental car firms, who mostly buy cars in bulk at lower prices. That's why new cars aren't reaching the car rental companies. Most car manufacturers are expecting the disruption in production lines to go into 2022. And still to come this evening, General Motors recalls over 400,000 vehicles over problems with its airbags. And superhero film Black Widow rakes in a massive $80 million at the box office, crushing the benchmark for the biggest opening weekend since the pandemic. That and more after the short break.
The wait is finally over. Shen Yun returns to the stage with an all-new production filled with beauty, majesty, and a powerful message of hope. Discover the lost culture of ancient China. Discover this season, Shen Yun 2021.
Coming to the Palace Theater, July 24th and 25th. Tickets at shenyun.com/Stanford, 888-90-SHOWS.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. For example, you get my 6-piece towel sets, regular $109.99, now only $44.98, or MyPillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
Welcome back. The first payments in President Biden's enhanced child tax credits are due to start rolling out this week. The program works like this. Heads of household will receive up to $3,600 for each child up to 6 years old and $3,000 for each child 6 to 17 years old. Half of that credit can be claimed when you're filing your income taxes for the year, but the other half will be paid in monthly installments from now through the end of the year. The amount of the credit goes down for people earning over $112,000 and households making more than $150,000. It's estimated the enhanced credits will cover about 39 million households and about 88% of the nation's kids. And in other news, The Black Widow hit theaters this weekend, Marvel's first big screen movie in 2 years. The fans were ready though. Here's the early box office estimates for the weekend top 5.
Ronnie, what do we got?
A Quiet Place Part 2 made $3 million for 5th place and a domestic total of $150 million. The Forever Purge fell to 4th with $6.7 million. The Boss Baby Family Business took 3rd place on ticket sales of $8.7 million.
That's the cop out! Don't!
After 2 weekends on top, F9 The Fast Saga dropped to 2nd, earning $10.9 million for a domestic total of $141 million.
Where are we trying to get? Motorbike, east side of the building!
Black Widow set a new post-pandemic record for the biggest debut weekend, dominating the weekend with $80 million.
And Disney, which owns Marvel, says Black Widow also made more than $60 million worldwide in premium streaming sales. Combined with $78 million in overseas box office, that would give Black Widow a combined weekend total of $215 million. And General Motors is recalling more than 400,000 trucks over an airbag issue. The problem lies in inflator components that can fail and cause an airbag to suddenly deploy for no reason. Impacted vehicles include 1500, 2500 and 3500 series pickup trucks manufactured between 2015 and 2016. Not all the trucks produced during that time were part of the recall. So far, all 3 reported unintended airbag deployments happened when no one was inside the vehicles. GMC and Chevrolet plan to notify owners of the recalled vehicles next month to visit the local dealerships for a free fix. And in Dubai, the Arab world's first female astronaut has been selected. She'll be training for the United Arab Emirates joint program with NASA. NTD's Andrew Thomas reports.
Noura Al-Matrushi will be the Arab world's first female astronaut. The 28-year-old holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and will be joining fellow astronaut Mohammed Al-Molla for a joint program between the UAE and NASA.
I feel extremely proud, extremely grateful to be given this opportunity. At the same time, the feeling of achieving your dreams is very gratifying.
But her passion for space began at a young age, when she went to stargazing events. She wants to encourage more girls and young women to consider a career in space.
The fact that I was selected to be part of the program, I think, is enough of an encouragement to all girls who want to enter the space field to go ahead and enter, be it through becoming scientists or by training or working hard towards becoming an astronaut.
The astronauts are currently undergoing in-house training at Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center. The preparation includes swimming, scuba diving, survival exercises, stamina improvement, aircraft flying classes, and Russian language training. The team of astronauts will move to Houston in December 2021 to begin preparing for the 2021 NASA astronaut candidate class, part of a joint strategic agreement between the UAE and the US.
Culture also, it's a part of team working. I hope my experience in the aviation field that will be supporting for a bigger mission in future in space, and I am looking forward to be trained there in NASA and be a part of new missions.
In 2021, the UAE launched the Emirates Mars mission Hope probe. It became the first Arab interplanetary mission to reach the Martian orbit.
The UAE is playing an active role in unmanned exploration of Moon and Mars. We look for the next phase, which is manned exploration in collaboration with our international partners.
The Hope probe will gather key scientific data about Mars's atmosphere. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
That's the latest business updates for today, but you can still catch NTD Evening News with Stephanie Cox. That's at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. For NTD Business, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
We have a new channel. Subscribe to us on YouTube at NTD News. Get the highlights of our news broadcast and the most important headlines that we curate especially for you.
Don't let YouTube decide what information you get. That's your choice. YouTube is deleting our videos and cuts you off from a source of honest reporting. Make sure you don't lose access to NTD's news content, and take a quick moment to subscribe to our newsletter so no matter what happens here, you'll keep your access to a trustworthy news source.